gentlemen, the following presentation is brought to you by Mr. Main Event Brian Waters and the Real Dwayne Allen. The Wrestling Realm, the show for the intelligent wrestling fans. Off the top rope, I dwell in the wrestling realm. Like Jake stay in the snake pit and Kane be in hell. Like Taker stay in the graveyard, I'm punk in the shy. Call me Snooker cause I'm super and fly. You can hate all you want, but I'm flossing. The Miz said I'm awesome, and I'm upholding the law just like the big boss man. With Mr. Main Event Brian Waters, the Real Dwayne Allen, toss you over the border like Hernandez, Mandez, pressing the stands. It's the show for the intelligent wrestling fans. Hitman like Hawk, but I'm not from Calgary. I'm all about the bill, so let that gold dust shower me, empower me like Farouk and the nation. If you don't know your history, then you should change the station. But if you do, you can cruise to YouTube / the wrestling realm. Your lessons are stale. Say the same old lines, man, you destined to fail. Like the Shockmaster or the wrestler Nails. I'm a heartbreak kid, and my bid to be champion is unmatched. Anybody step, I'm face planting them. With Mr. Main Event and the Real Dwayne, you the sisters of love, we the powers of pain. You see we coming with a spear while you're monkey flipping. It's Brian Waters, Dwayne Allen, and your boy Trenton. And that's just how the story goes. That's just how the story goes. It's the wrestling realm, baby. The wrestling realm. Mr. Main Event Brian Waters, the Real Dwayne Allen, and I'm your boy Trent CMG. You know what it is, baby. Let's go.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, with the Real Dwayne Allen's #1 favorite WrestleMania of all time. I'm here with yours truly, Mr. Main Event Brian Waters, and of course, the Real Dwayne Allen. Let's not prolong this any longer. Let's get this show on the road. My favorite WrestleMania of all time is this. In Boston. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. WrestleMania 14. Now, first of all, let me go in and say the reason. WrestleMania 14 is my #1 favorite of all time. One, because this is one of my favorite wrestling tapes of all time. Two, it's the thing about wrestling tapes when you're a child. This is different. WrestleMania 14, to me, represented the beginning of the Attitude Era.
Without
fully.
shadow of a doubt.
You know, we've seen glimpses, we've seen, you know, shades of it, but I think this one completely embodied. The fact it was entitled X-rated. You know what I mean? It embodied what the Attitude Era would become and all that it was. It was the official launch of the passing of the torch of Shawn Michaels to Stone Cold Steve Austin, and the Austin era officially began. And do I need to really even go into what that means to professional wrestling as a whole? Nope. No, I don't. The entire card, I'll say, was another prelude into another era. You know how I feel about symbolism, and how I explained in my previous number 2 of how I felt about how WrestleMania 12 represented the best of the 90s that I enjoyed the most. I think Mr. Main Event probably enjoyed a little bit more of the earlier 90s than I did, late 80s, early 90s, and I enjoyed maybe mid to late 90s more than he did as well. But you also saw new periods and new transitions of different guys. You saw Triple H standing on his own. Little did we know it would be the beginning of a new era of which he was going to walk into his own as far as being Triple H, the top guy, the leader of the next version of the Generation X.
Yeah, because he was really going to sink or swim. I mean,
naturally, yeah, they didn't know what they were going to do, and the fact that he kept it going, we saw some interesting matches as far as the 15-man battle royal. I mean, the tag team, 15-team battle royal with the tag teams and the match, stuff like that. With a lot of guys like LOD 2000, wasn't that much of a success, but you know, the new Midnight Express and you know all that.
You didn't like LOD 2000?
I did, but it was only so much you could invest in them because of you know.
I think their purpose was simply just to put guys on.
Oh, naturally, I think in that point in their career, they're still the best at it. You know what I mean? It's just like that. When I say that, that wasn't my favorite era of the Legion of Doom.
Yeah. Just like you know, obviously it was Mike's number 1, which most just about any credible source will tell you they was the best tag team in wrestling.
They won every title and everything.
Yeah, but like one thing I said was, with these guys, they never showed signs of, you know how you look at Shaq and he wasn't as powerful once he, you know, as he went to the Suns, the Celtics. These guys always seem powerful.
Yeah, you never saw a letdown in there, and like you may not see them do as much, but they have been doing so much for so long. You can argue that each period you saw a different style of wrestling, like not like style, but a different pace, and you got used to it. So it's never like like a Flair. Oh, it's not used to. You're not used to seeing him a certain way because you know you see him on main TV all the time. But the Legion of Doom, you know, like I say, that when that was number 1, I was like, that's well deserved because they like. I know people argue that the Dudleys might be the best because they won probably just as many titles, but my argument would be is LOD has won all those titles back when they really meant something more. At the end of Team 3D's run, the Dudleys, after a while they just started racking up tag team titles, but you know there was really nobody for them to really. But they really won the major titles when they were still all major. But love that. You saw a lot of young tag teams, a lot of new people. You know, Jim Cornette. You see another failed gimmick of Bob Holly, trying to be the, you know, he's been through quite a few. Poor Bob Holly. But moving on to the next match, you saw a cruiserweight match. You saw I consider WWS at the time attempt to tap into the cruiserweight division with, you know, spearheaded by Taka Michinoku versus Agyu, who I actually thought was like Psychosis back in the day. I was like, oh snap, Psychosis in the WWE. It really wasn't. It was Agula. Lightweight championship, didn't like the belt as much, and it wasn't as good as the cruiserweight division in WCW, hands down. But I enjoyed the match. It was, you know, nice prelude. Triple H versus Owen Hart with China, handcuffed to Sergeant Slaughter. Love the story because I love that chemistry in the ring. First of all, Owen Hart and Triple H. You saw 2 young guys really going out there. Back when the European title really was like, you know, it meant something. You know what I mean? It's not to say that it didn't mean something later on, like when it first the DDP and what you call it, but you know, you compare DDP versus Christian to Owen Hart. Triple H is like, you know, there's a gap in between there. Love the storyline because you saw Owen Hart, and you know, and Triple H had been beefing for a while now. You always saw China's involvement in Triple H's matches at the time, and you also saw the power struggle between DX and the administration, in particular in this one, Triple H versus Sergeant Slaughter. And they were always getting the best of him, and he was always tired of it. And he was like, he was hell bent on making sure that DX was not going to keep running over everybody. So he had him handcuff China to him and stuff like that to keep her from getting involved in matches. Love the match, love the finish. You know, we all the notorious low blow from China. And then, you know, the pedigree show's over. Triple H wins. I enjoyed it. You also saw another transition of Owen Hart, you know, the Black Heart. You know, he had to adopt a darker persona. Now by this time, you know, Bret had already left. You know, for WCW and stuff like that. So a lot of people were interested to see what direction Owen Hart's going to go in.
First WrestleMania since WrestleMania 1 that there's no Bret Hart.
Naturally. And, you know, All Hart cut a promo about that, too. About his brother leaving and him staying, stuff like that. And a lot of people missed that, but it's on YouTube if you check it out. Moving on to Mark Merrill and Sable versus the artist formerly known as Goldust and Luna. Probably the worst match on the card for a number of reasons. Let's begin with Goldust, or the artist formerly known as Goldust. This is that period in time where Goldust, he wasn't Goldust. He came out as like a different gimmick every week because he was trying to find himself.
Yep.
In pure Goldust fashion. It is weird. Luna freaked me out. She always scared the pants off me. I don't know if you just weird. Never liked Mark Merrill. Ever.
Yeah.
I did at one, like, no, I can't even lie.
You ain't like Johnny B. Bad?
Never.
Oh.
Never liked
How can you not like Johnny B. Bad?
Never liked him. At all. Ever. I didn't like him as Johnny B. Bad. I like him as the Wild Man.
I know you. I feel you probably didn't like Johnny B. Bad because he had the bicycle. You ain't like Texas Tornado either, did you?
No.
You don't like bicycle strings.
I do. Brings Bulldog into Ultimate Warrior.
Bulldog, Bulldog's on a level of his own. He could.
Macho Man had bicycle strings.
That was just on.
Yeah.
But that was Macho Man. But I'm saying like mid carders.
No. You get if you're a mid carder, you can't win bicycles.
Okay.
No. The match. I mean, the match was solid. Those guys. None of those guys are not good in the ring. I just didn't care about them. Just did not care about neither one of them. Yeah. Goldust was. I just hated him. Now, this is the match that really gets me. This is the beginning of when. You know, beginning I guess with the Triple H match, but this match right here with The Rock, with Kama Mustafa,
that promo,
Mark Henry.
Well, you gotta understand, if The Rock was a juror, he'd be a hung juror.
The interview before the what you call it is.
That's where you start to see
that's where
him
you break loose like that.
Yeah.
You saw this is where you saw Farouk start to lose control of the nation, because you saw The Rock being the head. You saw more guys following him, and. People forget, at this time, this was Farouk and Rock was starting to beef a little bit. And, you know, The Rock, a young Rock, you saw the beginning of what was going to be. And I think they know, everybody noticed it, you know what I mean? And I love to see with Ken Shamrock for the IC title because he would always sort of get the best of Ken Shamrock in the worst ways. And then this match, you know, BAM! Ken Shamrock finally got him back. And, you know, it was I remember The Rock getting an ankle lock, he was bleeding from the mouth, and you know, he was taking out everybody. Ken Shamrock just, you know, beat the crap out of everybody in the nation. And then you hear Farouk comes out after previously being in the tag match earlier to help The Rock, and then he looks at him and just walks away.
Right.
I enjoyed the feud with the nation between The Rock and Farouk. I wish it would have lasted longer, but The Rock was just skyrocketing at that point. It's just like he really was just taking off. And but like I said, I like to catch people at that breaking point in their careers where you say, you know what, you know they're on the bridge of something. You know, like right now in today's terms, when you watch this, we see that from a Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah,
and we see it in the Cody Rhodes. Those guys on the brink of something. And at one point we saw it with the Daniel Bryan. Not that he had a proven thing, because you know it's Bryan Danielson. He has done his thing over the years. Yeah. And you see that with The Rock in this WrestleMania, which I enjoy. And so that's like you know, when you see guys have become legends and you look back at where they came from, it's like, yeah, he was on to something right there. Moving on to Cactus Jack. This is one of my all-time favorite matches of all time. I swear to you. This match, the dumpster match between Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie, a.k.a. Terry Funk, versus the New Age Outlaws. In my opinion, this is the match where they came into their own. Like, New Age Outlaws were together and they were doing their thing. They were just buttholes and they were like the new DX. And at one point, they were, you know, like, it was coming soon. You know, the joining of New Age Outlaws and DX. But these guys were absolutely money. They came up with t-shirts like "Look Mom, no curse" on it. It was just crazy. You saw the birth of Billy Gunn's new character, which I will not say on air. You know, you saw that, and then you had this veteran group of guys at the time. Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie were hanging out and doing crazy stuff with each other, stuff like that. You know, coming up with chainsaws, and they were introducing hardcore wrestling to the WWF audience. They were bringing that style over, and it was, you saw over the course of time before that match, you saw a whole lot of hardcore. Like you saw an 8-man hardcore match previously. And they really spearheaded. Okay, these guys were 2 ECW veterans at the time. You know, by that time they were out of ECW, and they were there for the early stages. But they brought that hardcore style to the WWF, which Road Dogg and Billy Gunn definitely thrived in. These guys were really good in the ring, but the fact that it was an unorthodox match. It was outside of the ring, a lot of dumpsters, a lot of trash cans, the backstage stuff. They stuffed them in the garbage can and put the thing on the top. Right. It was just great stuff.